The Maid Freed from the Gallows is one of many titles of a centuries-old folk song about a condemned maiden pleading for someone to buy her freedom from the executioner. In the collection of ballads compiled by Francis James Child in the late 19th century, it is indexed as Child Ballad No. 95. 11 variants, some fragmentary, are indexed as 95A to 95K. In the Roud Folk Song Index it is No. 144. The ballad exists in a number of folkloric variants, from many different countries, and has been remade in a variety of formats. For example, it was recorded in 1939 as the Gallis Pole by folk singer Huddie Ledbetter, and, the most famous version, in 1970 is Gallows Pole, an arrangement of the Fred Gerlach version by English rock band Led Zeppelin, on the album Led Zeppelin III. Synopsis: there are many versions, all of which recount a similar story. A maiden or man, who is about to be hanged, pleads with the hangman, or judge, to wait for the arrival of someone who may bribe him. Typically, the first person to arrive, who may include the condemned person's parent or sibling, has brought nothing and often has come to see them hanged. The last person to arrive, often their true love, has brought the gold, silver, or some other valuable to save them. Although the traditional versions do not resolve the fate of the condemned one way or the other, it may be presumed that the bribe would succeed. Depending on the version, the condemned may curse all those who failed them. The typical refrain is, "Hangman, hangman, hangman / slack your rope a while. I think I see my father / ridden a Euro unregistered trademark many a mile. Father, did you bring any silver? / Father, did you bring any gold, or did you come to see me / hangine a Euro unregistered trademark from the Gallows Pole? No, I didn't a Euro unregistered trademark T bring any silver, / no I didn't a Euro unregistered trademark T bring any gold. I just come to see you / hangine a Euro unregistered trademark from the Gallows Pole." It has been suggested that the reference to gold may not mean actual gold for a bribe, but may instead stand for the symbolic restoration of condemned persons' honor, perhaps by proving their innocence, honesty, or fidelity, or the maiden's virginity. Such an interpretation would explain why a number of the song's variations have the condemned person asking whether the visitors have brought gold or paid the fee. In at least one version the reply is, "I haven't brought you gold / but I have paid your fee." The song is also known as the Prickly Bush, a title derived from the oft-used refrain lamenting the maiden's situation by likening it to being caught in a briary bush, which prickles her heart. In versions carrying this theme, the typical refrain may add, "Oh the prickly bush, it pricked my heart full sore. If ever I get out of the prickly bush, I'll never get in any more." Variants: in some versions, the protagonist is male. This appears to be more prevalent in the United States, where the hanging of women was uncommon. The crime for which the protagonist faces hanging is occasionally mentioned. The woman may be being held for ransom by pirates, or she has stolen something from her employer. Other instances tell of her having lost a treasured golden ball or indicate that she is being hanged for fornication. The most extensive version is not a song at all, but a fairy story titled The Golden Ball, collected by Joseph Jacobs and More English Fairy Tales. The story focuses on the exploits of the fianca copyright who must recover a golden ball in order to save his love from the noose. The incident resembles the story of the youth who went forth to learn what fear was. Other fairy tales in the English language, telling the story more fully, always retells some variant on the heroines being hanged for losing an object of gold. In the Bob Dylan song Seven Curses, it is not the maiden who is to be hanged but her father, for stealing a stallion. The woman offers to buy her father's freedom from the judge, who responds, "Gold will never free your father / the price my dear is you," instead. The maiden pays the judge's terrible price but wakes the next morning to find that her father has been hanged, anyway. Origin: the song may have originated in continental Europe. Some 50 versions have been reported in Finland, where it is well known as Lunasta Taven Nerito. It is titled Den Bortsagen LDA in Sweden. A Lithuanian version has the maid asking relatives to ransom her with their best animals or belongings. the maiden curses her relatives who refuse to give up their property and blesses her fiancé copyright, who does ransom her. In a Hungarian version called Fair Anna, collected by Bar copyright Ledbetter cubed K in his study The Hungarian Folk Song, Anna's brother Laszlo is imprisoned for stealing horses. Anna sleeps with Judge Hovat to free him but is unsuccessful in sparing his life. She then regales the judge with 13 curses. Cecilia is one of the best-known and more diffused songs in the Italian popular music. With no reference to any curse, it tells a story not very different from those of Fair Anna and Seven Curses. Cecilia's husband has been condemned to be hanged, and she asks the captain how it is possible to spare his life. The captain promised to save her husband if Cecilia sleeps with him, but in the morning Cecilia sees from the window her man has been hanged. The song is also found in Northern Sami, titled Naida Kajansis, which tells a story that strongly resembles the Lithuanian version. The maid asks her relatives to ransom her with their best belongings or animals. Francis James Child found the English version defective and distorted, in that, in most cases, the narrative rationale had been lost and only the ransoming sequence remained. Numerous European variants explain the reason for the ransom: the heroine has been captured by pirates. Of the texts he prints, one had degenerated into a children's game, while others had survived as part of a Northern English canty fable, The Golden Ball. Child describes additional examples from the Faroe Islands, Iceland, Russia, and Slovenia, several of which feature a man being ransomed by a woman. The theme of delaying one's execution while awaiting rescue by relatives appears with a similar structure in the 1697 classic fairy tale Bluebeard by Charles Perrault. Gallows Pole, and the era of recorded music. Ledbetter version Legendary folk singer Huddie Ledbetter, who also popularized such songs as Cotton Fields, A Midnight Special, first recorded the Gallis Pole in the 1930s. His haunting, shrill tenor delivers the lyrical counterpoint, and his story is punctuated with spoken word, as he interrupts his song to discourse on its theme. Judy Collins and Bob Dylan versions Judy Collins performed the song Inertia throughout 1963, credited to Neil Roth and Lydia Wood. It is thematically similar to the Hungarian Fair Anna cited above, even to the detail of the name of the brother. It appeared on her third album, Judy Collins III, released in early 1964. Dale Stanley's album A Child of Hollowed Times, also released in 1964, included an uncredited version of this song, under the name Unathea. Bob Dylan recorded a thematically similar Seven Curses in 1963, during the sessions for his Freewheelin' album. The song tells a similar story, but from the point of view of the condemned daughter. Dylan's song has been recorded by many artists. The definitive folk version of the song is probably that by Nick Jones recorded as Prickly Bush, which he performed live and as featured on the Unearthed album. The song has also been played by Spiers and Bodden, and recorded by Ledbetter. Derry Jail The Streets of Derry an Irish version of the song, entitled Derry Jail, or The Streets of Derry, has the young man marching through the streets of Derry more like a commanding officer than a man to die upon the gallows tree. As he mounts the gallows, his true love comes riding, bearing a pardon from the Queen. It was first recorded by County Armagh singer Sarah Makeham on the Folk Songs of Britain, Volume 7, Fair Game and Foul, and subsequently by Shirley Collins, Andy Irvine and Paul Brady, June Tabor, Peter Bellamy and Spiers and Bodden. Led Zeppelin version The Seven Curses plotline is followed in perhaps the most familiar version today. English band Led Zeppelin recorded the song for their album Led Zeppelin III in 1970. The album is a shift in style for the band towards acoustic material, influenced by a holiday Jimmy Page and Robert Plant took to the Bronner Rock cottage in the Welsh countryside. Page adapted the song from a version by American Fred Gerlach, included on his 1962 album 12-String Guitar for Folkways Records. On Led Zeppelin III the track was credited traditional, arranged by Page and Plant. Gallows Pole begins as a simple acoustic guitar rhythm. Mandolin is added in, then electric bass guitar shortly afterwards, and then banjo and drums simultaneously join in. The instrumentation builds up to a crescendo, increasing in tempo as the song progresses. The acoustic guitar chord progression is simple with a riff based on variations of the open A chord and the chords D and G occurring in the verse. Page played banjo, 6 and 12-string acoustic guitar and electric guitar, while John Paul Jones played mandolin and bass. Page has stated that, similar to the song Battle of Evermore, which was included on their fourth album, the song emerged spontaneously when he started experimenting with Jones' mandolin, an instrument he had never before played. I just picked it up and started moving my fingers around until the chords sounded right, which is the same way I work on compositions when the guitar's in different tunings. It is also one of Page's favorite songs on Led Zeppelin III. Led Zeppelin would perform the song a few times live during Led Zeppelin concerts in 1971. Plant would sometimes also include lyrics in live performances of the Led Zeppelin song Trampled Underfoot in 1975. In the Led Zeppelin version of the song, despite the bribes which the hangman accepts, he still carries out the execution. As in the Dylan Seven Curses, and many other renditions, the Led Zeppelin version is based on a variant in which the convict is male. This is evident when the convict's brother addresses the convict as brother rather than sister in the line, "Brother, I brought you some silver, yeah." Personnel: Robert Plant, lead vocals, Jimmy Page, 6 and 12-string acoustic guitars, electric guitar, banjo, backing vocals, John Paul Jones, bass guitar, mandolin, John Bonham, drums. Other versions. The song has been recorded by numerous other artists, including A.L. Lloyd and Ewan MacColl, Odetta, Gene Ritchie, Armida Riddle, Frank Profite, Charlie Poole, Peggy Seeger, Jimmy Driftwood, The Kingston Trio, Peter, Paul and Mary, Steely Span, The Pine Valley Cosmonauts, Nick Jones, Uriah Heep, Tim Erickson, Alvin Youngblood Hart, Great Big Sea, and Neil Young. American folk singer John Jacob Niles recorded a version under the title The Hangman in 1940. The song was featured in the 2007 Harmony Korine film Mr. Lonely. A few lines of the song were sung by a woman strumming a guitar in a 1949 John Wayne movie, The Fighting Kentuckian. The song is chronologically appropriate to the film, which is set in 1818. The Smothers Brothers performed a comedy version in which the narrator is hung before he can finish the first verse, which appeared on the Two Sides of the Smothers Brothers in 1962. Jasper Carrott repeated this version. The Watersons recorded the song as the Prickle Holly Bush on their 1981 album Green Fields and frequently included it in their live performances. German folk metal band In Extremo has a version of this song called Der Galgen. Led Zeppelin members Page and Plant later recorded a version of Gallows Pole for their 1994 release No Quarter, Jimmy Page and Robert Plant unleaded. They also released this track as a single. The song was performed regularly on the subsequent tour and featured Nigel Eaton on Hurdy-Gurdy. In 2005, Robert Plant and his band Strange Sensation performed the song on the television show Soundstage. The performance was released the following year on the DVD Soundstage, Robert Plant and the Strange Sensation. Canadian singer-songwriter Neil Young has a version named Gallows Pole on his 2012 album Americana recorded with Crazy Horse. American singer-songwriter Stephen Molyneux has a version called Lover to Go My Bail on his 2013 album called To Leave in which the true love walks onward, the protagonist hung. In literature, the Shirley Jackson novel Hanksman takes its name from the folk song and draws on its theme of a female protagonist seeking rescue from peril, in this case of a spiritual, existential, or psychological nature. In television, Season 1, Episode 2 of the Netflix series Bloodline closes with Tex Ritter's rendition of Gallows Pole, in which the male singer requests his father to bring gold and silver to save his son from being hanged, and the father replies that he's brought both, everything he has. Names: in addition to the Maid Freed from the Gallows, the Prickly Bush, and the more recent Gallows Pole, variations of the song have been recorded or reported under more than a dozen names. These include: see also, the Child Ballad. Geordie also features a rescue from the gallows by a payment. Max Hunter, a traveling salesman, recorded and transcribed multiple variants of the song in Missouri, Oklahoma, Arkansas, and Tennessee between 1956 and 1976. The Jeff Beck Group released The Hangman's Knee on Beck-Ola, which draws from the traditional ballad, which begins, "Hangman, hangman, slack your noose, slack it, oh slack it for a while." The song Renegade by Styx is a first-person narrative of a captured outlaw awaiting execution, lamenting, "Oh mama, I'm in fear for my life from the long arm of the law. Hangman is coming down from the gallows and I don't have very long." The song Hallowed Be Thy Name, by English heavy metal band Iron Maiden, briefly gives an interpretation of life after death and describes the feelings of a condemned person just before their execution by hanging. References. Further reading. External links, lyrics available at Wikisource, The Maid Freed from the Gallows, several variants, song facts on variants, The Maid Freed from the Gallows, with commentary, full lyrics of this song at Metro Lyrics.